Hello, hello, hello. This is a topic I've been kicking around in my head for a little while now, trying to make a reasonable prediction about what's going to happen moving forward with Latin America and an increasingly Latino United States of America. So let's start with what's going to happen to the USA as the country quickly becomes, if not majority Latino, then a plurality that's split between white and Latino, with other groups making up the gap. As I was explaining to somebody close to me recently, given the way that white birth rates are dropping at a slower rate than the other people groups that come to the United States, because they don't have this inbuilt defense system against technological and social modernization in the same way that the people who originated it do, alongside an assumption of net outflow, immigration, remigration, etc., assuming that the Democrats don't regain power and immediately flood 10 million people per year into every nook and cranny of the United States, then what we very well could see is white people either maintain a slim majority in the United States or become a minority populace that is second in population size to Latino, formerly immigrant stock. Now, in the case of that happening, it's not the end of the world. I would prefer to see America maintain its heritage majorities, but it is far from the South Africanization that many on the online right scaremonger about. What you will more likely see is an Argentinification or a Brazilification. My money goes to an Argentinification, but that is a story for another day. What I think you're going to see happen is, with this dual polarity of dominant people groups, you will, one, see white people begin to become more ethnocentric, as you are even seeing right now. I don't believe that white people are simply genetically outgroup focused. I think when there are very few security and identity threats, then you see a group that becomes more outgroup favorable. When there are those security and identity threats, and maybe the pie of resources shrinks a little bit, formerly outgroup accepting groups start to look inward at kin and have a higher value on those bonds and begin to develop an in group preference. So, for those among us who have a deep and abiding fear of racist white people, or think that white people are racist already, you ain't seen nothing yet. As population shrinks, ethnocentrism grows. That isn't to say that there will be some sort of race war, far from it. Every other group in America has those ethnocentric beliefs and holds their own group as higher than others, except for white people currently. So that's where I think you'll see them land, them being us, as I'm largely German, little bit of French, supposedly some native, but isn't that what every American white says? And I think conversely, you will see Latinos continue to become less ethnocentric and to side with more long term goals within America than the ethnic redistributionism you might have seen in the past. Now, does that mean that the Republican Party should start looking towards a Latino future and try and do everything for them? No, no, absolutely not. They should try to represent their vast majority white, especially white evangelical constituency, and to carve out a good life for them. But as we've seen with Trump, you can pick up Latino votes through simply being strong on law and order, acting as a strong, more autocratic leader who's willing to get things done, and having a force of personality. Remember, these are very flamboyant, machismo first, strength of identity countries, which is why they seem to swing rapidly between a kind of redistributionism and strongman caudillo leadership. So I think you're going to see more of the population of Latin Americans blending into the right side of American politics. Next up, some predictions for Latin America itself. I think with the way American society is going, along with European bureaucratic, stultified countries that crack down harshly on their people in lieu of adapting to modern challenges and seem to have no belief in their own moral legitimacy. In contrast to that, you will see some measure of the heritage of Western civilization move southwards into Central and South America. You saw it with Bukele. You see it in an economic sense with Milei, and it appears that Chile has also just elected a stronger right wing leader who is willing to talk in a non negative way about Pinochet. You also see it in the recent news of a Brazilian, I believe it's presidential candidate, who says that he wants to do for Brazil what Bukele did for El Salvador. And these leaders seem to be far from just being simple strongmen who rule by pure military force. They seem to take on their people's mandate of heaven to restore order and delete criminality by almost any means necessary, but they still have effective enough institutions to make life bearable. Many times their morality is descended from Catholic morality, and even the language of a Catholic morality is employed within their politics, even when it isn't explicitly Christian. Countries like Argentina are, in some ways, three quarters of the way to a European country, maybe halfway there, while others like Chile and, if I remember correctly, Paraguay have strong institutions that are more or less trustworthy. You see countries like Costa Rica, where the increase in money brought by tourism has led to a commensurate increase in criminality, and they're beginning to get a little bit fed up with it. As much as they want the tourism dollars, they also want to maintain their status as a relatively safe country. So, what you also see mentally is the people are less taken in by what has been the ruling ideology of the American empire, which spans across their vassal states in Europe, which is blank slate progressivism. We all know about this, that the gay flag is a surer marker of territory controlled by the American empire than is the American flag. The EU states are ashamed of their own flags. This is not so in many of these Latin American countries, despite what the very loud left wing activists would commonly have you believe about these countries, especially, for example, Argentina. The people there seem to be more connected and prouder of their colonial heritage than are Americans, and especially our more recent American immigrants who seem to, by and large, only take pride in the parts of American society that fit within the frame of modern American progressivism. But these countries do take pride in it. They're still people with a level of masculinity, a level of traditional gender norms, which you can still see in the US, of course, but it is to a much greater extent in South America. Now, is this guaranteed? No. Like every prediction of what happens with the future, it is very likely not to be what you expect it to be, but the best predictions end up having some of their echoes come true. So I guarantee nothing, but at the same time, I do think those are reasonable forecasts of what you're going to see happening over the next maybe 50 years. Remember, the fates and fortunes of nations can change much more rapidly than people believe. Where at one point, Argentina was one of the richest countries in the world. Over the course of the 20th and now 21st century, it has been in serious monetary decline, which is why you got a leader like Millet, where they are willing to do anything to reclaim some measure of their past glory. Or, for example, Tijuana, Mexico, which is now known as a den of vice to the point that it's a easy shorthand for a kind of lawless hellhole, was once a very high class resort destination, I think as recently as the 1950s. But that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Wired West of Digital Pulp. All the best to you and yours. Goodbye.